I'm going to share with you some pretty exciting stuff, but before we get started, I want to share with you a little backstory. Several weeks ago, Andon gave a speech on a few things like most of us, and as I was listening to it, he's touched briefly on Einstein's theory of general relativity, which I thought was very interesting. But as I looked around the room, I could tell that it wasn't exactly everybody's cup of tea. And as I talked to my daughter and asked her what I should talk about, she always wants to talk about black holes. And it's hard to talk about black holes without general relativity, special relativity, gravity, time, space. And so as much as I wanted to talk about those things, I know I might lose your attention pretty quickly. But I'm going to do it anyway. So Andon kept his explanations of general relativity pretty short, and that was smart. I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's important. And actually what I really wanted to focus on today was about time. What is time? Where did it come from? When did it start, and how do we have such minuscule, what Mike Winkles calls parts of seconds, parts of time? So let's go back to the Big Bang. But please keep in mind when I talk about this, there's a physical universe that we live in and know, and there's a spiritual universe. And the spiritual universe resides inside and outside of the physical universe. I'm not stating the physical universe encompasses all existence, just the physical existence, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So time started with the Big Bang, right? Given the nature of cause and effect, I'd say the Big Bang was actually a great big effect. So what was the cause of that? Well, if time started with the Big Bang, then the cause never happened. It preceded existence. So how do you explain the Big Bang? Well, with the depths of research, scientists determined that the cause of the Big Bang was it just happened. I remember geometry class, we had to go line by line, step by step to prove that 2 plus 2 equals 4 is the same as 4 equals 2 plus 2. I feel like they missed that class. But fast forward to ancient Babylonia and the first sundials. We created a clock and split it into 2 sections. One starts at noon with the sun right overhead, and the other starts at midnight when it's really dark. Once we had a sundial, it was easy to break those into 2 sections, those 2 sections into pieces, or hours. 2 12-hour segments make one day. And 12 is significant because it allowed the people to count the hours of the day using just their fingers. I'll explain that. Apparently back in the day, they used their thumb to count their finger bones on their finger, giving you 12 plus 12. It's 24 without having to take any shoes off. As mechanics advanced, timekeeping advanced. At first, mechanical watches needed to be adjusted back to the sundials to keep them accurate, but now electric timepieces are accurate to say the least. Many of you have noticed a quartz on the face of your watch. Quartz movement is quite reliable. You apply a voltage to a quartz crystal, causing it to vibrate at the rate of around 32,000 hertz. Sensors count these vibrations, which counts seconds. The method is so reliable, you could set your watch to it. Seconds. It's the universal base unit of time. And how long is a second? It's the duration to, say, Mississippi. We just know that there's 60 seconds in a minute, and 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, and a day is about the time it takes the Earth to rotate on its axis once. So a second is a 60th of a 60th of a 24th of the time it takes the Earth to rotate once. Sort of. There are other materials that we find that if you hook them up to electricity, they shake even more reliably than quartz, like cesium, rubidium, and other metals that serve no other significant purpose on Earth. But shaking an obscure metal or quivering a quartz crystal aren't as accurate as the atomic clock. Atomic clocks are the most accurate because you're measuring the microwave signal electrons emit when they change energy levels. It's plausibly that's much better when it comes to counting Mississippis. National standards agencies in many countries maintain a network of these atomic clocks, which are intercompared and kept synchronized to an accuracy of 10 to the negative 9th seconds per day. 0.00000001 seconds is how closely they stay in time to each other. I'm not sure if that's accurate. I think that falls into the category of because we can. And there are climatic and geographical irregularities that can impede the Earth's rotation, meaning it's not always exactly 24 hours that it takes the Earth to spin. Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC, the time you see on your computers, that's based off the atomic clock. There's also mean solar time, or UT1, which is how the Earth and the Sun are actually aligning, based on the Earth's placement relative to the Sun. Given that you've got some contraption in an underground bunker counting Mississippis, you got to make sure that actually corresponds to whether or not it's light or dark outside. If these two get too far apart, we had the leap second. Many of you have heard about the leap second. We actually had one added last January 1st. As you counted down to midnight, if you watch the atomic clock, it actually went 11:59:58 seconds, 11:59:59 seconds, 11:59 and 60 seconds, midnight o'clock. We added a second in there. Sometimes you take one away, depending on how far apart those two are. And I don't even start on leap years, but basically when we started the 12-month Gregorian calendar, we had to have a way to keep the months in their respective seasons, or slowly the days would be aligned at different times relative to the seasons. Some things always happen at a certain time of the year, like equinoxes and solstices. Some things happen on certain dates that correspond to those lunar and solar events, and some are just a day. The 4th of July is the 4th of July. We always think that that's in summer, but without leap year, that would slowly fall back into spring. So every couple of years, we put a day in, and it realigns it to keep it in summer. Winter solstice is going to be December 19th to the 22nd. For the same reason, we keep the winter solstice in what we consider the winter months. I think of it as a way just to ensure that we're always aligning Mother's Day with the fishing opener. And time's always moving, and we're not going to stop it, but for some reason we keep finding more expensive and energy-consuming ways to measure it. And I hope you enjoyed your science lesson. And remember, when you give speeches, share what you want to share, because it's important to you. Because if it's important to you, it's important to us.